It was very loud.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another edition of ESTA Live. My name is James Hess. I am a member of the Board of Advisors here at the ESTA and also Encore. We are the global leader in event experiences. I am super excited for this event this week. We are going to meet a couple of great guys who are helping to establish the chapters, the local chapters for ESTA. Real quickly, the mission of the Esports Trade Association is to unify, serve, and ethically advance the business interests and sustainability of the esports industry. Today, as I mentioned, we are going to be discussing ESTA chapters and the latest developments with our Texas and New York chapter leaders. And I'm honored to be joined by them, and I will do a quick introduction. But before we do that, please, down in the comments, say hello and let us know where you're from. We're always very excited to hear from you all. And certainly if you have any questions that come up during the comments during the conversation, please drop them in there and we'll get to as many as we can. So without further ado, I want to introduce Jonathan Jordan. Jonathan is the Vice President of Legal at NV Gaming, Inc., and also serves as the ESTA's Chapter Committee Chair. We're also joined today by Ben Paro. Ben is the Senior Sales Director of Gaming, Esports, and Technology Brand Sectors for YouGov, and also serves as the ESTA's Research and Data Committee Chair. I am super excited to hear from both of them. Why don't you both just tell us a little about yourself and how you got involved with ESTA and chapters? Jonathan, why don't you take it from here?
Yeah, so like you said, I'm the Vice President of Legal at NV Gaming in Dallas. We're one of the largest and most successful esports orgs in the world, I guess. But I've been a member of ESTA for the last couple of years. Have been on the board of directors this current year. I'm the chair of the chapter subcommittee. As you said, we're making a big push toward establishing local chapters across the country. Ben has been a big part of that, but I'll let him intro first before we go into that.
Thanks, Jonathan. Ben Paro, I am a Senior Sales Director at YouGov. Thanks for the intro, James. So, in my role generally in the space, YouGov provides insights and survey solutions to help esports teams, event organizers, sponsors, you name it, anyone that's kind of touching the gaming esports world, understand who this audience is, how to position their brand or their partner's brand, to appeal to that audience, and then track success of those campaigns. And I am a board chair for the Insights and Research team at the ESTA. I've been involved with the association for about a year and a half, but in this chair role since the beginning of this year, and it's been a lot of fun. I'm also based in Brooklyn, New York, and as one of kind of the key markets for esports and gaming in general, it made a ton of sense to get a chapter off the ground here. And it's been, even coming out of the pandemic, it's been a ton of fun. Excited to talk about it more.
Yeah, while we're talking about chapters today, obviously research and legal are two things that are incredibly important to people who are interested in the esports industry. And that's something, obviously, as a member of ESTA, which we would all welcome you to join here on this panel, would be to access information like that. So keep that in mind as we're talking about it. This is not all of these things the guys know about. There is a lot more that you can learn from it. But let's jump into the chapters first. And Jonathan, you were the first chapter, local chapter of ESTA, and now you're heading the committee. Tell us a little about the committee and what the chapter meant for you, and maybe even tell us about your favorite event that you did.
Yeah, so just some background. I've been I'm in Dallas, and I've been hosting monthly networking events in Dallas for the last couple of years for the esports kind of business community. And as I was getting more involved with ESTA and becoming better friends with John Davidson, who's the chairman of the board of directors for ESTA, we started talking about kind of affiliating what I was doing with these meetups and affiliating it with ESTA, making it a formal chapter. Mm-hmm. And we formally launched, I guess it was 2 months ago, North Texas as the first official ESTA chapter. Had a great event. I can talk about that a little more. But yeah, the goal is to establish as many chapters as we can throughout the country. First targeting kind of the major hubs for esports and gaming, Dallas was easy for us. A lot of us in ESTA are based in Dallas, so we already had a pretty good group to get a good following for the chapter. Ben started New York a couple months ago, and that's been doing extremely well. He'll be able to tell you all more about what they're doing in New York. But yeah, we're looking to do more. Looking to launch in Chicago hopefully soon, since that's where ESTA is based. Maybe LA, Atlanta, some other larger markets. But yeah, what we're primarily doing right now with the committee is just kind of trying to gauge interest for where these next chapters should be, where we think we can have some early success with these chapters, get good followings quickly, and use them as examples for success for future chapters.
Yeah, and Ben, you're working to establish or have established the second local chapter of it. Tell me a little bit first how that's going and what's going on with the New York chapter, and then also why are we doing local chapters with video games and esports and gaming in general being such a online global sport? Why is there a need at all for having a local group of people to meet with?
Yeah, well, I guess I'll kind of start by addressing the second question, and kind of pivot that into why New York, and what we've been doing here. I think, and I think Jonathan would agree. It's the esports community is super tight. I've loved going to ESTA events and getting to feel that. But even outside of the ESTA, I was before the pandemic, of course, but started to get involved with local meetups within the New York area, and was just blown away, by kind of how diverse the community is, the business community, and how much it's growing. And I think ESTA has all these different tiers of people who are in the business and then want to be involved in the business, as well as kind of collegiate education. And those things, people that hit all of those different pillars are within all these different communities. So what better way to serve them than to get everyone together, exchange ideas, have some fun, just generally, network and build your own individual network. I think that's one of the kind of core values that the association brings to the industry. So yeah, in New York, we just a couple weeks after Dallas had their kickoff event, we had a kickoff event here. I was just honestly blown away by the attendance. We kept it. It was kind of like a trial. It was like, all right, let's invite 100 people and see who shows up. And we had like over 50 people at this bar. The bar was overwhelmed. They were like, where did this group come from? So that was a real signal for us that the desire is here. There's a lot of interest. And it's only been a few short weeks since then, but we had a second meetup that again went really successfully, and now we get to learning from Jonathan and what he's doing in Dallas. I know his last event he'll tell us about more in a moment, but they had a speaker series, and those are things that we want to formalize here in New York, and looking for business partners maybe to have host an ESTA event at their offices, or sponsor an event, so we can make it more of a bigger, flashier thing that people really look forward to. And also we want to extend this to everyone's network. If everyone starts to invite 5 other people and bring them along, suddenly this thing snowballs into something really, really big, and that could extend into people that work in traditional media and sports, but are curious about esports and just want to expand their network into the space. So really exciting, really fun. Looking forward to what's to come.
And to piggyback off of what Ben just said, with Dallas, with these meetups that we've been hosting, we've had people from outside esports and gaming show up just because they're interested in learning more and getting plugged in. And I think that's a big benefit for these meetups, is expanding our reach and helping people realize that there is this entirely relatively new business community out there, and that there are opportunities to do really amazing stuff in the space. And we've had success stories from our meetings of people meeting at the meetups and doing business outside of it afterwards. So that's not the main goal, but it is a goal of those meetups, is to help people expand their networks locally and help further their businesses in the space. But like Ben mentioned, our official Dallas or North Texas chapter launch event, we had a panel of, I think it was 5 people, maybe, from different parts of the industry. One was a journalist. One works with a prominent marketing agency. One does events for Envy Gaming, my company. Former pro player and current GM. So pretty much all walks of life within the industry are represented in ESTA, but at these chapters. And one of the things that we're making a big push to do is to keep offering kind of educational opportunities with these meetups. I think that's a really important thing. And educating people about the industry who aren't in it, but also educating people who are already in it about what they can do in the space. So yeah, that was probably my favorite meetup so far, just because that was the formal launch of our chapter. We got to do it at SMU, Southern Methodist University in Dallas. Got to do it in one of their auditoriums, and it was just a great event overall. Had some students come, and that's one of the things we're trying to do, is really connect with local students as well and help them find careers in esports. And that's something that ESTA is dedicated to and has an entire committee dedicated to that. So it's fun to be able to kind of bridge the different committees in ESTA with what we're doing with these chapters. But yeah, the whole point of the chapters is we want them to be pretty routine things. That's how we found most success as far as having people consistently turn out, is try to do an event monthly, whether it be at a bar or a restaurant or just informal meetups, and then trying to do more formal stuff maybe every quarter, panels or speakers, that type of stuff. But yeah, we're looking to really expand and looking for people who are interested in potentially starting chapters in their local communities.
The local nature and the building of networks, I think, is something that gets missed a lot when we talk about gaming and esports in general, because again, we all think of it as an online activity, right? You don't imagine that being in person for a video game conference or tournament is the most important thing in the world until you actually get to experience it, something like that. And maybe I'm talking to the people who aren't in esports and gaming right now when I'm saying these things. But what I would like to stress is that in the pandemic years where live events were less, the industry as a whole took a step back. So what I'm saying is, when there were no local events, when it was all online, the industry as a whole made less than what they expected to, which means to me that the local aspect of it is so much more important. Getting 15,000 people in a stadium here in Dallas is very different than having 15,000 people come in to your Twitch stream and maybe pay attention or something like that. So growing from that kind of local nature of a global industry seems to make a lot of sense to me. And Ben, you talked about it a lot with networking and growing your network. I certainly, Encore as a company is in the live events industry, and that is something we focus on, is creating live events for tournaments or whatever it happens to be. But what has been the huge benefit for us as a company from joining ESTA, and me personally from going to these local meetings, is that I've met candidates for jobs. As a matter of fact, at the SMU event, there was a non-ESTA member who had developed a video game on his own, and he was just checking it out. And it turned out that he was a great fit for Encore, and he's applied to a job for us. So even people who are going to these events with one thing in mind, a lot of times the companies like mine who are going there are getting something else out of it. So that is just something else to think about with those local meetups.
And another success story.
Yeah, there you go.
I'll just expand on that a little bit with my own kind of personal success stories. I mean, I met a gentleman who puts on a podcast, and he said, I'd love for you to be on the podcast sometime. And I was like smitten. I was like, I'd love to. So got to do that, a couple weeks ago, which was really fun. And I have also, I have met new prospects, people that were on my list that I've been sending emails to for a lot of time with no response, and then got them in person. And now we've got things moving. And I'm speaking from my own perspective here. It's the only one I have, but I know that it's also true of others that have been at these events, that they've they've closed deals on it. It is helping move their business forward, or they found that next job, that jump that they were looking to do, and it happened quicker than they expected because they were able to rub elbows with these folks in person. There's not enough can be said about the value of just face-to-face interaction, and we've all been a little hungry for that, right? Jonathan, we've talked for years now. I think we met in person one time at the last ESTA event in Chicago. So I look forward to changing that soon.
Yeah, so you have a longer relationship with Jonathan than I do, but I've certainly seen him more because I'm here in Dallas and I get to go to those local meetups.
Right.
So although you guys have a longer working relationship, we have actually met in person quite often. So I think there's a huge benefit in that. And listen, you and me are in sales, right, Ben? So we totally get it. There's a chance to meet a prospect in person is very different than getting even the best email in the world from me to them.
Yeah.
So how else, Jonathan, is the committee helping these local chapters, or what is the committee providing, or what are the goals for the committee to be able to provide to local chapters coming in the next year or so?
Yeah, the goal is to keep it is still a new system. So we're still trying to kind of work through the kinks, but the goal is to have ESTA overall support for the local chapters. But right now it is very much local chapter leader driven. And that's why we're really looking for people who, if you're interested in starting a chapter, really looking for people who are who buy into what ESTA is doing and really believe in what it's doing. But two, are able to consistently organize these events. Like I said earlier, these events are more successful when they're consistent. So having someone who's dedicated to rounding people up, whether it be just to go to a bar once a month, people who have a decent amount of connections in their local communities who can kind of get the chapter up and running pretty quickly. But these local chapters are great opportunities to kind of dive into leadership at ESTA and really see what ESTA is doing. So if people are interested, you can apply online. There's an application process where you fill out an application on the website. We'll do a kind of trial period like Ben did with New York, where you'll host one or two events, see kind of how the turnout is, gauge interest. And if it's successful, if we think there's potential, then we'll grant official chapter status and just keep going from there. But it's definitely we're definitely developing this process as we go. But we're very excited about the local chapter initiatives and think it's a really important step to really growing ESTA.
So
go ahead, Ben.
Just to piggyback off that one, I totally agree. And I think it also gives a really crucial touch point for people in their local communities that have wanted to get, maybe they work in the business of esports and gaming, or they want to, but they've struggled to find that right entry point. And so having these local chapters, I think, is big for the association, but really big for the community at large. And yes, as Jonathan was saying, the whole across the board at ESTA, I've been so impressed by the weight that everyone carries. It's kind of one of these things where all hands on deck, and but the more hands we have, the easier it is to get more done. And for some folks, I think the local entry point is a great motivator. So anyone listening from New York or knows folks in New York, I am not hiring per se, but looking for more help. So bring them on.
And that's the thing also, if you want to lead a chapter, you don't have to do it by yourself. You can form kind of a leadership committee around you to help organize these events. And that's how we actually prefer that you do it. So definitely don't try to do it on your own. But it is a really rewarding experience leading these local chapters. And even if it's a group of 15 or 20 people, being able to lead a group like that and organize and help kind of stimulate local growth in the industry is extremely rewarding.
Yeah, well, listen, we've in the comments here, we've had DC, Florida, Northwest Indiana, Seattle, Calgary, and Long Island. So, and I know Freddie's here in Dallas too, so we'll keep him on the back burner. But those are a lot of locations where people are interested. And I think the Esports Trade Association has been around for a long time, but we are finally reaching that critical mass where there are people who are valuable to the industry, are part of the ESTA and willing to share that knowledge with other members. And that there are local chapters that we are still figuring out what that means or how those are ultimately going to benefit the people in the local chapter. So the best part about working with an organization like ours is that we're not set in our ways. You're not coming in with, okay, I'd like to start a local chapter. Well, here's the 10-point checklist that we need you to fill out. And here's the 8 things we're going to do for you. And if you don't do these, then you lose your chapter. We are much more open to great ideas into how to share and create other opportunities for other chapters. But those committee meetings can be incredibly powerful places for you to learn. Hey, you might want to start a chapter in Chicago. Well, it turns out that we have 8 people from different universities in Chicago who can be part of the speaker series that, like Jonathan set up at SMU or wherever you are in the world. We do have people who are already there who can help you grow that network of local people into something new. So I think that's a huge part of it. Just the chance to grow and create the committee strategy for the company. Is that fair to say, Jonathan?
Yep, absolutely.
Fantastic. So where can people, you mentioned applying to create a chapter, Jonathan. What is the process or how can people find out more about chapters?
Yeah, so if you want to find out more, there's information on the website. You can reach out to me online. I'm very active on LinkedIn. Reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm always happy to talk about the chapter process or just the industry in general, for that matter. But yeah, so a formal process is fill out application online. We'll review it internally. And if we think there's potential there, we'll let you run a couple events, see kind of how the turnout is. And if it's successful or if it shows potential, then we'll grant chapter status and just kind of let it go from there.
And Ben, what is going on next for the New York chapter?
That's great. I knew you were going to ask.
You asked me to ask that question. I don't know.
I know. I know. We'll be having a meetup in July. The date is still TBD, but we've been doing these on Wednesday nights typically. Just need to lock in kind of I'm going to send out a note to folks that I have in my invite list. If there's anyone listening that is in New York, I saw someone from Long Island. If you can come into the city easily, we'd love to have you. So please, drop me a note on LinkedIn as well. I'll get your email information and, include you on the invite. So yeah, that'll be, one of those Wednesdays in the middle of July after the 4th. And, just to kind of, second what Jonathan was saying, the ESTA is in this really incredible and really fun moment of transition and growth where every member who is actively involved can have a really strong hand in the formation and direction that this association goes to the betterment of the industry as a whole. So I know there are a lot of folks out there who get really excited about that, and we would really love for you to get involved.
Yeah, and Jonathan, what's next for our Dallas chapter?
We are working on having an event. Next month is going to be our next meetup. We had one a couple weeks ago in conjunction with DreamHack, which was a great event for all those who came out. But yeah, next one date is also TBD, but it'll probably be more of an informal meetup. But hopefully we'll see everyone there.
Yeah,
I'll add that you can be sure we'll be doing something around LCS at Madison Square Garden come fall. So that's also on my radar.
Very cool. And one other question I had for both of you, Jonathan, do you look for people who are under 21? We talk about bars and meetups in bars and things like that a lot. What's the best profile of a person who would join a local chapter?
Honestly, we have people who are under 21 in our chapters. There's no age restrictions for joining chapters or coming out to these events. If we're at a bar, don't drink, I guess is really the only thing if you're under 21. But no, there's no age restrictions. If you have kids who are interested in learning about esports, bring them with you. it's a great opportunity it's a great educational experience just to be able to talk with people in different parts of the industry doing different things. Yeah.
Yeah. And here's a little tip. People in this industry love helping other people in this industry. So you cannot imagine. I mean, Jonathan didn't want to drop any names on here, but the people who attend these events as like the speakers, or the people who attend these events as our special guests, are some of the biggest names in the industry. I mean, we're talking, it would have been George Steinbrenner from the Yankees showing up to one of your events, your first event ever for the ESTA Chicago event, the ESTA Next event. So something I will let you know is that these are not poor attendance. These are not us just out there kicking it, having fun and playing, Street Fighter 2. Gosh, I'm old. I couldn't think of a more recent arcade game. But this is really valuable, useful knowledge that you can then take and turn into a career. And Jonathan mentioned kids. Ben, I don't know how many kids show up to the New York chapter events, but I will tell you that there are people in this chat right now who are fully focused on bringing kids into education through esports, and having them participate in the chapters only makes sense to me. Ben, is that something you'd be interested in, is having families or things like that in the New York chapter?
100%. We definitely need to change our venue, but open to suggestions. Again, this is where really excited to get more folks involved. If they have, I don't know, an office space that could be amenable, or as it gets nice out in New York, we all have our parks. Like, I think all those could be great ideas, and we can get out of the city. Like, we can also go to the burbs or wherever demand is. So yes, it's all on the table. We want to put this around a kids' little league tournament. Let's do it. It doesn't matter.
That is fantastic. Listen, getting the younger people involved in this is going to make it easier on us when we're trying to make them members later in life. So, that is a great asset. Well, listen, I won't take up any more of your time. I really appreciate you both being here today. Jonathan, do you have any last word on the committee or how to get in touch with you? You mentioned LinkedIn. Is that the best place to find you?
Yeah, LinkedIn is the best place to find me. I'll drop my email in the chat. You can reach out to me. I think I can do that. Maybe not.
You want to just say it out loud?
I don't know if I can. Yeah, it's my email is Jonathan, JOHNATHAN @nv.gg. So feel free to reach out to me, email or LinkedIn. I'm always available, always willing to talk and share some insights on ESTA and how to get involved.
Yeah. It doesn't hurt to know the legal counsel for NV Gaming, frankly. So, Ben, how about the best way to get in touch with you and what you've got next, what you'd like people to do to get in touch with you about the New York chapter?
Yeah, likewise. LinkedIn is probably preferable, but if you want to shoot me an email, it's ben.pero, just 7 letters, ben.paro @yougov, yougov.com. And we'd love to hear from you, and I'd love to get you involved.
Yeah, and salespeople, please reach out to Ben and YouGov, because if you're trying to sell to people in this industry, having the knowledge that he can arm you with will make it so much easier for you. So something to keep in mind. I've definitely leaned on his research in my sales.
Thanks, man. And I appreciate Jonathan, reviewing all of our contracts for Envy. He's great at that.
So let me just do a couple quick announcements here. Finally, the Esports Trade Association will be having our annual conference here in the United States, obviously, here in Chicago. Not here in Chicago. It says here on my sheet, but it is not here. I'm in Dallas. Chicago is where our Esports Next conference is. It will be August 21st to the 23rd. The major days of the conference are the 22nd and 23rd. Those are going to be some of the most fantastic panels and networking events that you could possibly be part of. So please go online to esportsta.org/esportsnext-2022, or just go to esportsta.org and click on the Esports Next information there. And of course, please go to the chapter's information or learn about more events also on the main website. And we also want to mention the elevator pitch competition, which would be very specific to people who are looking to break into this industry and want to be able to pitch their ideas to an amazing group of people. We'll have one of the judges formerly won on Shark Tank. So this is something that if you're going to be pitching an idea in the industry, the elevator pitch competition and the elevator pitch class is something you definitely need to check out. So having said all of that, we sincerely appreciate you both, Jonathan and Ben, and the Esports Trade Association for setting this up. Thank you so much. Thank you for having us. Hope to see you on the next one.
Thanks, James.
Thanks.
Thanks.